Coming up next on Backchecking the Bolts.
I had to
What
look
is
up.
Dyngus Day?
Apparently, it's some sort of festival. It's celebrating the end of Lent and Easter and all that stuff. It's the first Monday after Easter, and it's apparently quite a wild party up in Buffalo. So I have a feeling the crowd is going to be super into this game, even though it's a Monday night affair. The
Happy
Sabres,
Dyngus Day
yeah,
to you.
the Sabres are selling the beer swords, so there's going to be people drinking out of swords at the game. I think it's going to be a really festive atmosphere up there. If nothing else, it's going to be an entertaining game.
Welcome to Backchecking the Bolts. Backchecking the Bolts is your cup of coffee to get you the latest on the Tampa Bay Lightning. Join host Jason Linkus and the managing editor of Raw Charge, Justin Godfrey, as they break down the Lightning's most recent games and go beyond the highlights, telling you what the box scores didn't. It's time to drop the puck.
Everybody, welcome to Backchecking the Bolts. We are back for the Martin St. Louis, Chris LaPuma, Jay Wells episode. That means it's episode number 26. I'm Jason Linkus. As always, I'm joined by the managing editor of Raw Charge. He is Justin Godfrey. You can see him at www.rawcharge.com. And Justin, the Bolts faced a tough task with the Boston Bruins. The Bruins are on a 4-game road trip. And it wasn't pretty the first two periods, but once again, it seems to be the mantra of the Lightning this year. They always seem to find a way to get the W.
I think Coach Cooper referred to him as stale through the first two periods. He went in and shuffled up some lines. They just found a way to save their best hockey for the third period, which is something they've been doing of late. So you get the big goals. Destu ties it fairly early. Radish sets the record, gives them the go-ahead goal with about 3-4 minutes to go, and then Kucherov with an empty net goal. Vasilevsky shuts the door. The defense shuts the door in the third period. They allowed under 5 shots, which seems to be a broken record with them right now, is them just absolutely limiting the defense, the opponent's offensive skills towards the end of the games. If you needed to highlight one game as to describe the Lightning season this year, I feel like this one, Boston, the win against Boston was probably one of them. The only thing that didn't happen is nobody got hurt. So, that's a good thing. So they didn't play their best game, but they found a way to win, picked up the 2 points, put themselves back in first place, put themselves in a really good spot, as we head down to this final, 10 days, last 5 games or so of the season. So, yeah, really like what they did. Play a little bit better to begin with, but finish strong. I'd always rather finish strong than, kind of fade at the end.
Justin, you had mentioned Coach Cooper made some line changes. What were some of those changes that he made during the game?
Just kind of mix it up. I don't think he's ever going to really mess with the Gord line, but kind of shuffled the top deck a little bit. I think Corey Perry got some ice time up with that top line. Just, open things up. They're still missing Brandon Hagel, so it's not the ideal top 6 right now for him. And sometimes I think you just need to boost things up. He's put Kucherov back with Braden Point to kind of get Point out of his little quiet goal struggles. Point only has 2 goals in his last 12 games or so. So they put Kucherov back with him before the game, kind of trying to kickstart him there. So, yeah, it's just one of those little in-game things. I don't think it's going to be anything permanent. I don't think we're in the dawn of the Corey Perry first line era, but every once in a while, just shake it up during the game, get some different looks out there and go from there. And it seemed to work, even though 2 of the goals came from defensemen, but that's the Lightning strategy right there.
Well, Corey Perry reminds me a little bit of Gary Roberts near the end of his career. He's a guy that played a lot of fourth-line minutes, but depending on where he was playing, you could actually move him up into a primary scoring role for a short period of time. You're not going to want to play Corey Perry 20 minutes a night, game in and game out, but he still has that skill. There aren't many guys who have the numbers that he has. And it's nice to have that flexibility in a pinch. You can throw him up on a top line and not miss a whole lot.
Yeah, he's never really going to hurt you out there. I mean, like the biggest drawback you see about Corey Perry is the fact he just literally, almost literally can't skate anymore. I believe at one point this season, he was the slowest skater in the NHL. But with his skill set, that's not something that's really a big detriment to his game. He's a guy who's going to get to the front of the net. He's going to annoy you. He's going to cross-check. He's going to slash you in the back of the legs while he's out there. He's going to find his spot in the, in the crease and, score a goal here or there or set up a play here or there. His puck retrieval around the net is really good. That's something that's a little underrated, I think, that people don't notice a lot. But he's one of these guys who can dig out loose pucks around the net and set up teammates. So he's been on the second power play unit too with the Lightning when he came over. So he's helped that unit out. So he has that kind of veteran sense of where to be and when to be somewhere that is really effective in the playoffs. He had that great playoff run last year with Edmonton, and I think that's kind of what the Lightning are looking for from him. So yeah, most of the game he can sit down on that fourth line. He can manage his minutes, but in the big games, you can bring him up. I think he's been, when they've pulled either Vasilevsky or they've needed that extra skater, I think he's been the sixth guy out there lately, which kind of shows what Cooper thinks of his ability when the Lightning have an advantage of it, just his ability to get down to the net and cause a little ruckus down there.
I didn't realize they had an award for the NHL's slowest skater. I'm ready for that at the NHL awards banquet. I could just
Yeah.
say, and here's the nominees for NHL's slowest skater,
Yeah, I think
followed
it's one of
by followed by the MVP vote.
Exactly. Yeah, I think it's part of that new edge. There's new edge stats where it's kind of funny because if you go to the main website itself and you're looking at it, it won't rank the slower skaters. It'll basically just say that they're in the lower 50%, lower 50 percentile of the rest of the league. But yeah, I'd heard it. I think one of the broadcasts had mentioned that he had been pegged as one of the slowest, if not the slowest skater in the league this year. But hey, it's Corey Perry. He's not here to race up and down the ice. He's there, like I said, to slash in the back of the leg, to give you that extra shove in a scrum, dig out a puck here and there, and poke it home for the goal. So it can get punched in the face every once in a while.
You have to wonder with a veteran like that, just having another presence like that in the locker room, how valuable that is for John Cooper to have. It's nice to have that other veteran when times are tough, you're in a tough playoff series, someone who you can go to who's been through the wars many, many times, and just be that voice of reason in the locker room.
Yeah, that was part of the reason they brought him back. They did mention that after the press conference. He's also a known commodity. I mean, you know what you're getting with Corey Perry. A lot of times when you make these trade deadline deals, you're going after people that haven't played in your system, that have thrived under different systems. So you don't always know how they're going to mesh in. I mean, when you get Corey Perry, you know exactly what he's going to get. Played with Lightning before. He's had success with them before. And he does bring that veteran leadership. Not that the Lightning are lacking in that. I mean, if you look at their roster, they have plenty of voices in there already. But sometimes it is maybe somebody who stepped away for a while and come back has a new perspective on things. So he saw what worked in Edmonton. He saw what worked in Tampa. He saw what worked in Dallas. So he's got the experience. And it definitely, cool heads out there when things get rough. It's never a bad thing to have.
One milestone that was hit in the Bruins game was Darren Raddysh. Darren Raddysh set the Lightning single-season record for goals by a defenseman with 21. Coming into the season, he had only had 13 in 2.5 seasons, let's call it. I know he had a cup of coffee with the Bolts in 22 and 23, but he really became a regular in the 23-24 campaign. One, we've talked numerous times that Raddysh is a free agent, but does this rank in the top 5 of all-time Lightning defensemen in terms of performances in a season?
Oh, easily. I think you got Hedman up there for a few years. You got Dan Boyle's 20-goal season as well, just his general play. But yeah, I mean, as far as individual seasons for a defenseman, you're probably looking top 3 or top 4. Who knows where it's going to be when it's all said and done. He just keeps finding ways to score. He did have a little slump kind of coming out of the Olympics with the rest of the team. Wasn't quite getting a shot on net. Kind of needed that radar recalibrated a little bit. And but over the last 3 or 4 games, he's kind of found that shot again. He's been putting it back on net. And even the goal he scored against Boston, like he admitted he wasn't technically shooting to score. He's like, they asked him like, "What did you see on your goal?" He's like, "I didn't see anything, man." Because the only thing I knew was that Kucherov was in the middle of the ice. So I figured I'd throw it on net and see if he can get a rebound. And it just Swayman kind of misplayed it a little bit and it went in. So when you're hot, you're lucky sometimes, and that's just throw the puck on net and good things happen.
Well, with the win, the Lightning move into sole possession of first place with 102 points right now. Let's give a quick update of the standings. You have the Lightning with 102 points. The Buffalo Sabres, who they're going to be playing tonight, they have 100 points. They sit in second. They are in a tie with Montreal, also with 100 points. Over in the Metro, you have the Carolina Hurricanes. They have clinched a playoff spot as well. They have 104 points. The Pittsburgh Penguins are in second with 96. The Philadelphia Flyers suddenly have moved into a playoff spot. The Bruins, after losing to Tampa, they lost last night to the Philadelphia Flyers 2-1 in overtime. They have 90 points. The wild card spots, you have those same Bruins with 95. Ottawa, with the victory last night against Carolina, they have 90. And then there is a logjam of teams on the outside looking in. The Islanders with 89 points. We're going to talk about the Islander news here in a second. The Detroit Red Wings, Columbus Blue Jackets with 88, the Washington Capitals with 87. Justin, we have about a week and a half left of the season. Who do you think grabs those final playoff spots, the spots that are out there up for grabs? In the Metro, third place, because the Flyers only have 90 points. They have a 1-point lead over the Islanders. And then you have that second wild card spot. Let's say Boston's in with 95. Ottawa right now with a tenuous 1-point lead on that second wild card spot. Is it going to be Philly and Ottawa, in your opinion?
I think it comes down to Philly, Ottawa, and the Islanders. I really feel like Detroit, out of those teams that are still fighting for it, Detroit's kind of shot themselves in the foot the most. They had a pretty good grip on a playoff spot, about 2 weeks ago, and then they've just kind of gone into a little bit of a nosedive here. And I think Columbus just kind of ran out of gas. So while they're not technically out of it, I think they're kind of on the back foot a little bit. Philly, I'll give you credit. You called it a couple weeks ago. This Philly team kind of surprising a lot of folks just by the fact that they just keep finding ways to win. They bumped themselves up to that third spot. Ottawa, you look at Ottawa and you just wonder how long they can do it. I was going to save this for the little preview we're going to talk about it, but they just lost another defenseman. I think Tyler Cleveland's out till the end of the season now. So you just kind of wonder when that's going to start catching up to them. They did get Jake Sanderson back, but you still have Shabbat out. You start taking these big blows on defense, it's going to catch up to you eventually. Yeah, I like the Flyers, the Islanders. Yeah, get that new coach bump and slide in there. So, but we'll see. I don't think anybody really has a super easy schedule down the stretch. I was kind of jotting that down beforehand. You look at the Islanders, they got Toronto and Ottawa, then they finished with Montreal and Carolina. So, they might luck into Carolina not having anything to play for that last game. So sneak in a win like that. But Columbus, it's got Detroit, Buffalo, Montreal, Boston, and Washington. And that's a pretty rough schedule to finish off because you got everybody that's pretty much in a playoff spot or still fighting. You can say Washington's still in it. They're on the fringes, but they've been playing
they would have really helped their position if they didn't get blown out by the Rangers 8-1 last night.
Exactly. Yeah.
What happened there?
Hey, hockey, man. It's kind of funny. Like the Rangers and the Panthers have really been kind of throwing a monkey wrench into some of these teams on the periphery. I mean, Florida's beaten 2 or 3 teams recently that you would think they would lose to, but so it's going to be a rough finish for Columbus. Ottawa, let's say they had the Lightning, the Panthers, Islanders, and Devils on a back-to-back, and then finish with the Leafs. There's a couple wins in there, right? Detroit,
Toronto's going to be gearing up for Ottawa.
Yeah. Even if even if Toronto's season's lost, they still have pride in that Battle of Ontario. So Detroit's got Columbus, they got the Flyers. So I think their next 2 games are probably going to be the 2 big ones for Detroit. And then they got the Devils, Lightning, and Panthers to finish with. It's Flyers are the Devils, Detroit, Winnipeg, Carolina, and Montreal, with the Carolina-Montreal games being back-to-back. So again, there's some tough finishes to the schedule here, but most of them are playing East Coast games. A lot of them are playing conference games. So there could still be a lot of movement over the next 10 days. And I do think it's going to come down to the last 2 or 3 days of the season.
Justin, before we take a look ahead and preview the Lightning games against Buffalo and Ottawa, there was some NHL news, and you had mentioned it briefly there. The New York Islanders decided to fire head coach Patrick Waugh. Now, it's almost becoming laughable in the NHL that you fire your coach and you're expecting that quick little bump to win 3 or 4 games. Even though I sort of say that, Vegas fires Bruce Cassidy and John Tortorella comes in and wins 3 in a row immediately. Now the Vegas Golden Knights are only a point out of first place. Patrick Waugh is replaced by Pete DeBoer. What was your initial thought when you heard about this? I'm still sort of speechless on this. I thought the Islanders were an overachieving team all year. I thought that, yes, they faded down the stretch, but part of that is just because of their youth. I didn't think this team was ready for the playoffs. I thought Waugh did a pretty good job this season, but they apparently had been talking to Boer long enough to where they had a contract in place because
Yeah,
he's the coach for the foreseeable future. He has a longer term deal with the Islanders coming up. What was your thoughts?
yeah, that's the part that kind of surprised me because it sounds like the rumors are like it's through the 28-29 season. So I mean that's a decent decent salary or decent contract to sign coming out of what is most people are thinking is a pretty surprise move. You always wonder with things like this if it just maybe Matthew Darche and Patrick Waugh just don't get along. Waugh was not Darche's guy, so Lou Lamoriello hired Waugh in 2024. Darche takes over in 2025, and GMs like their guys. They kind of in situations like this, yes, okay, he's the head coach. He's signed long term. I think Waugh still has 2 years left on his deal after this year. But they still kind of want their guy. And I don't know if DeBoer and Darche are friends, how they know each other or whatever. But yeah, for him to come in and offer him a multi-year deal right away, you just kind of wonder if this is something that's been brewing. There's something Darche doesn't like about the way the team was playing that maybe was covered up by the way Sorokin was playing. A lot of times you get these goalies that are hot and they cover up a lot of mistakes for a team. So that could be something that, once there was a little pressure and things kind of backslid a little bit, Darche had his opportunity. Patrick Waugh's a fiery guy. Maybe they had a meeting that didn't go so well. You never know how these things end up. But so it was kind of a surprising move this late in the season with the team, borderline technically in the playoffs. I mean, they're in a playoff spot, right? No, they're just 1 point out. But
They're
when
1
it
point out
happened,
now.
yeah, when it happened, I think they were still in a playoff spot. But it was also kind of odd that they had a 4-day, break this point of the season. I mean, I was looking at the schedule. I was like, wow, that must be pretty nice to have a nice long break with a 10 days to go to schedule. We'll see how it happens. Does the team react to it? Do they fall apart? Did Waugh lose the locker room? That could be another thing. So I'm sure at some point we'll hear the stories as to why Patrick Waugh, Hall of Famer, talked his way out of another job in the NHL. But those are for the days to come. Now it's just about winning 2 or 3 of their next games and getting into the playoffs, and then see if they can cause havoc from there.
I'm just going to throw the business component out there. You always hear for NHL teams that getting the playoff money is huge because you don't have to share it with other teams, unlike the national TV contracts. The playoff money is all yours. And they always say that in order for a lot of these teams to make a profit, you have to make the playoffs. Could this be the Islanders' way of just saying, hey, this is the bump possibly we need just to creep into the playoffs? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But I think it's something you can't discount, though, because, hey, these owners want to make money and they have every right to do so. But I just still wonder, are you hurting your long-term development? Because Patrick Waugh had this team playing above expectation. But Justin, I'm looking over Pete DeBoer's resume, and it is pretty impressive. 662 career wins. He's won 3 division titles in his last 6 years. He took the Dallas Stars to 3 consecutive conference finals. If you're going to get a replacement, even though I think DeBoer his act may wear thin with certain teams, and I think it has in the past, this is still a pretty good hire to bring in. You're not bringing in someone who's just happens to be an assistant.
Just depends on what your goals are. Maybe you think this is the right team for DeBoer. It was a really messy exit in Dallas with him pulling Jake Ottinger in that last playoff game after giving up 2 goals on 2 shots, and then just how it was handled from that point out. So maybe DeBoer learns from that, maybe becomes less of a hard coach on the players. That's kind of been his reputation, is he can be a bit hard on his players, sometimes throw them under the bus. Maybe that was the experience he needed, is to kind of change his ways a little bit, and he'll coach a little differently. But he's had the success, like you said. I mean, if you look at his resume, he was probably the best guy out there with experience. Nobody likes to recycle coaches like the NHL likes to recycle coaches. He was always going to get a job somewhere. Could be a good fit for him. He's got a good solid base down there. He's got the comfort of a multi-year deal. So if he doesn't make the playoffs, it's not going to be a thanks for your 5 games of service, go back home. So yeah, he's going to be able to build something. Darche has a guy that he picked himself. So there'll be some cohesion there moving forward. We'll see how they work with the younger players coming in with the Matthew Schaefers, and see if they can make this long-term success as opposed to just a one and done and then they're looking for a coach again. Kind of something that may be going on in Vegas this summer, depending on how Torts finishes things out over there.
Okay, Justin, quick little quiz time for you. Pete DeBoer with the Islanders, that will be his 6th team. Name the other 5 teams he coached for.
So we got Dallas.
Correct.
We got
3
Vegas,
seasons
right?
there.
At Vegas.
Vegas, 3 seasons before that.
Florida.
Yes, that's the one that I think is forgotten. That was his first stint from 2008 to 2011.
San Jose.
San Jose took the Sharks to the Stanley Cup Finals in 2016, lost to the Penguins.
Other one. This is the one that I always forget. Where else was he? Was it East Coast or West Coast team?
East Coast. It was 4 seasons. Now, he never finished higher than 4th in the standings, but he took this team on sort of a miraculous run to the Stanley Cup Finals in 2012.
No, that's not going to help me whatsoever.
Played Los Angeles, lost in 6 games. No. Devils.
The Devils. Okay. I had a feeling it's one of those New Jersey, New York teams. But well, good for him, What's that? 3 different teams he's made the conference finals for?
3 different teams he's made the conference finals.
Right.
Two different teams in the Stanley Cup. The surprising thing is it wasn't until he had coached over 10 years that he won his first division title. He won 2 division titles with Vegas, won 1 with the Dallas Stars.
Division titles are kind of hard to win. The Lightning haven't won one in a while, so it's it's not the easiest thing. It's easier to win in the playoffs, I think, than it is to win a division title these days. So,
well, Pete DeBoer would agree.
Yeah, exactly. Making good money doing it. So.
Well, Justin, let's take a look ahead. The Lightning head up to Buffalo. They begin a 4-game road trip. They play at Buffalo tonight, at Ottawa on Tuesday, at Montreal on Thursday, and conclude the road trip with an afternoon tilt with the Boston Bruins on Saturday. The Sabres are coming off of a 6-2 loss. They've lost 5 of 7, even though they got points in 2 of those losses. Buffalo was red hot forever. Really, since this streak started in December, I think it was December the 8th, they had more wins than any other NHL team. I don't want to say they're coming back to earth a little bit, but they are. It's hard to stay that hot forever. They now have lost Sam Carrick. He got into a fight with Anders Lee in a 4-3 win against the Islanders last week. He's out for the foreseeable future. They're saying he could be back for the playoffs. Tell me a little bit about what you think about Buffalo coming into this game. What matchups do you like, and who are you a little scared about?
I mean, it's always going to be that Tage Thompson line that's going to give the Lightning trouble. But Carrick's out, and like you said, this was bound to happen. Things are going to catch up to him. It's not the end of the world for Buffalo to lose a couple games right now. Kind of get a little reset going on, get back to doing what they were doing to be successful. We saw the Lightning go through it coming out of the break. They've kind of put their game back together. It's going to be the matchup. It's going to be interesting to see how the Lightning handle this one. I thought the last time they played in that wild 8-7 loss for the Lightning, really felt like the Lightning, I don't want to say they didn't care who won the game, but they were kind of more or less trying to send a message that, hey, you guys are the flashy new kids on the block, but this is how playoff hockey is going to be. And the Lightning were really forceful in that game. They were really physical. I think they were trying to push the Sabres and see how they reacted. And to Buffalo's credit, they took advantage of the power plays and beat them beat them in a pretty entertaining game. So I think the Lightning are going to be a little bit more disciplined tonight, going to be a little more focused on defense. I don't think it's going to be a wild game. Even though we've seen that the last couple times these two teams have met, I think it's going to be a little bit more low-scoring game. The Lightning have kind of fixed their defense a little bit of late. They're still kind of banged up a little bit with Hagel being a game-time decision. So I think we're going to see a little bit more disciplined game, I would say, a little bit more tight to the vest. probably a hard checking game, but not an overly offensive one. So that's what I'm kind of looking forward tonight. We're going to see how the goaltending does. Can the Lightning get some sustained pressure in the Buffalo zone? Can they keep them out of their zone? So we're gonna have a fun little matchup tonight, but it'll have a interesting vibe because if I'm not mistaken, I don't know how many people celebrate this day, but it is Dingus Day in America, which I had to
What
look
is
up.
Dyngus Day?
Apparently, it's some sort of festival celebrating the end of Lent and Easter and all that stuff. It's the first Monday after Easter, and it's apparently quite a wild party up in Buffalo. So I have a feeling the crowd is going to be super into this game, even though it's a Monday night affair. The Sabres,
Happy Dingus Day
yeah,
to you.
the Sabres are selling the beer swords, so there's going to be people drinking out of swords at the game. I think it's going to be a really festive atmosphere up there. So if nothing else, it's going to be an entertaining game. But I do think it's going to be a little bit more of a tight checking game. Both teams, you're in that stretch where you want to focus on being right for the playoffs. That's what the Lightning have been preaching the last couple of days. Is they want to get their style into playoff mode. So even on Dingus Day, yes, they're going to have to figure out a way to focus. But so yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking for tonight.
I can just see the commercials. I think it's 96 Rock up in Buffalo. Come see the Sabres on Dingus Day and get your beer. That's right. It's a beef on Wecken for Dingus Day festivities.
Oh man, it's the world's capital of Dingus Day in Buffalo. It's the annual post-Lenten bash, which attracts tens of thousands to Buffalo, New York, to celebrate spring, show Polish pride, flirt with something, and listen to the best polka bands in the nation. So there you go. That's what Dingus Day is going to be all about. The accordions are going to be out. The polka is going to be playing. It's going to be a fun day up in Buffalo. It's spring, man.
Hey,
after a long, hard winter, it's spring in Buffalo.
It's actually a little bit cold. We were 85 degrees on Saturday. I was outside. We had to put our air condition on for the first time. And yesterday it was probably about 45 degrees and windy. It's not going to be much warmer today. So it'll be a cold Dingus Day up there in Western New York.
All Dingus Days are good Dingus Days, sir. So, but hey, there's a parade. There's polka. What more could you want? There's Sabres hockey. They're in the playoffs. It's a good time to be a Sabres fan. So should we?
Hey, Justin, I did want to talk about the previous matchups real quick. The Lightning won the game on February 3rd in overtime against Buffalo, but they've dropped the last two. The game on February the 28th was a pretty resounding 6-2 Buffalo victory. What in the Sabres game has given the Lightning trouble? Is it speed? Is it transition? What has given them trouble?
It's been pretty much the speed and the forecheck, even in that 8-7 loss as well. The Sabres were able to get in and create those turnovers, give the Lightning fits on their breakouts. So that's kind of been an issue when these two teams have matched up. That's why that Tage Thompson line, Tage coming in, playing with speed. He's got the size up there as well. The Lightning really have to focus on getting the puck out clean. That being said, in that 8-7 game, they were able to kind of counter a little bit and catch the Sabres out. If the Sabres are caught down low, the Lightning have been able to get their transition game going, but they have to be able to get that puck out of the zone, and just stay out of the penalty box. I think Buffalo scored like 3 or 4 power play goals last time they matched up. So stay out of the penalty box. Don't do anything stupid. Clear the puck. I thought something we've been seeing a lot more of the Lightning lately is their ability to get the puck out of danger. Or if they do get stuck in, their ability to recover from it. There was a play a couple weeks ago. It wasn't the Buffalo game, or the Boston game, was the one before it. But Mitchell Chaffee in his first game in tries to clear a puck up, tries to flip it out on his backhand. It doesn't work. He scuffs it, goes right to the defenseman. I think it was a Pittsburgh game actually. So, but what Chaffee does, instead of like shrugging his shoulders or hanging his head a little bit, he goes back out. He blocks a shot that comes off of that chance. So that kind of recovery is what we're seeing more from the Lightning. If they do make a mistake, they are able to recover from it and prevent it from becoming a goal. So if they can do that against Buffalo, if you're going to make mistakes, no one's perfect in the NHL. So if you make your mistakes, just recover from them, keep them from becoming dangerous chances or goals, and they'll be all right. So I think that's going to be the message that's preached in the locker room today is, hey, focus on taking care of the little things, get the puck out of the zone, and let the offense build off of that.
Well, after the Buffalo game, they traveled the next night. They're going to play the Ottawa Senators. The Senators are coming off of a 6-3 victory against Carolina. That vaulted them into that second wild card spot, as we had mentioned earlier. But previous to that, they had lost 4 out of 5. What scares you about the Sens, and what matchups do you like against Ottawa? Now, I know you had mentioned Ottawa lost another defenseman. You think the Lightning want to probably just get that puck down deep and really bang them into submission.
Yeah, this is going to be one of those games where the gourd line is going to be really important. You know, a line that can get out there, get that forecheck going, cause a lot of problems, set it up for the top two lines that they can get their offensive rolling. The one thing about Ottawa is, you know, I kind of question their depth a little bit. They have the really great top line, but I think the Lightning kind of match up pretty well against them when you get to the third and fourth lines. So that's kind of what I'm going to be looking for. The Lightning can neutralize that Tim Stützle line. They should have a fairly decent chance in regards to being able to take advantage of the other three lines out there.
Justin, the Senators are going to be waiting for the Lightning. They don't play on Monday night. They're going to be a little bit more rested. Meanwhile, it's the back-to-back. So once again, we're probably going to see Johansson in net, correct?
I think Cooper's going to keep going with his rotation. You know, Johansson's probably got this start and maybe the Rangers start at the end of the season left on his things to do list for the season. So I expect to see him come in and play against Ottawa. It'll be his first time against them this year. He's coming off that really good game his last time out against Nashville, where he made 29 of 31 stops. He played pretty well against Calgary as well. It was a 4-3 overtime loss, but after kind of a rough first period, he really shut the door. So his last 6 periods or so have been pretty good hockey for a guy who doesn't get into the net very much. He'll give him a shot. I think he'll stop the shots he needs to. Probably give up 2 or 3 goals. It's just what Jonas Johansson does. You know, he plays well, but he's still going to give up probably 3 goals. So the Lightning are going to have their offense going, but he's going to give him a shot to win, and that's all you can ask from your backup goaltender, especially on a back-to-back.
Justin, rapid fire. You have a 4-game road trip: Buffalo, Ottawa, Montreal, Boston. Which game do you see as a win? Which game do you see as the toughest game on the trip?
I even if Buffalo's struggling, I still think that's the toughest game on the trip. As far as wins, I like the Boston matchup. I think Boston, the Lightning match up well against that Boston team. We saw it last weekend. Boston's a good team, but they're not a super dynamic team. They're not a super fast team. Their style that they play kind of fits into what the Lightning defend against well. So I think the Lightning will have a good chance against them. Montreal game is going to be a coin toss. Ottawa is going to be a coin toss. Actually, these are all coin tosses in my opinion. Cooper's strategy is always get more points than games played on the road. So if they can pick up a couple wins, say pick up 2 wins and maybe an overtime loss or an overtime shootout loss, something like that, and that'll be an okay road trip. I don't think they have to sweep the road trip. Cooper doesn't care if they finish in first or third right now. Honestly, they're gonna be in the playoffs. That's all that matters. And with the way they played on the road this year, even if they don't have home ice advantage in the first round, say they fall to the 3rd spot, they're gonna be okay. So just stay healthy, win a couple games, finish the season off. Just play well. That's all you want. So is just play decent hockey.
Justin, you had a day off yesterday. What's going on at Raw Charge? Back to recapping more games, huh?
Yeah, well, we'll turn this microphone off. I'll turn the keyboard on and finish up the Buffalo preview. Might as well work on the Ottawa preview while I'm at it since it's back-to-back. Throw a recap in and then see if there's anything else, any other news breaking that we can report on, and just to have a good time.
We will be dropping our next podcast on Wednesday, probably around noontime. We're going to recap the back-to-back, Buffalo and Ottawa, and we will preview the Montreal game. You can catch all of Justin's writings at rawcharge.com, www.rawcharge.com. For Justin Godfrey, I'm Jason Linkus. Thanks for joining us today. Please hit that like and subscribe button. Thank you for all your support. Look forward to seeing you on Wednesday. Have a great day and go Bolts.
Go Bolts.
Thank you for listening to Backchecking the Bolts. We are free and available on all platforms, including Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon, YouTube, and Deezer. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to subscribe and leave a review. You can follow Justin on Blue Sky at rawcharge.com. You can follow the show on X at Tampa_Bolts_pod and on Facebook Instagram, and YouTube at Backchecking the Bolts. If you're interested in advertising on the show or partnering with us, you can find more information in the show notes or email Jason at backcheckingthebolts@yahoo.com.